Hello there, and welcome to Introduction to Translation, Lecture 2. In this class, we are going to talk about lexical issues in translation, meaning-based issues in translation. Meaning-based issues in translation. Look at this diagram. In this diagram, we have here the source language, and here the target or receptor language. Here in the source language, text to be translated. We discover the meaning. This is the meaning stage. Then we re-express the meaning to the receptor or target language translation. So we have the source text here and the target text here. And we analyze the source text. We discover the meaning, and then we transfer the meaning into the receptor language. Accuracy and equivalence. We have to distinguish features of the verbal sign, for example, chair, assuming that its semantic domain would include verbal signs such as these, bench, tool, and hassock. Now we have to reconsider equivalence, because equivalence has many sides. One of them is a semantic equivalence. As for the semantic domain of the word should be accurate, there must be equivalence between the source and the target text. Let's take the word chair, for example. If we distinguish features of the verbal sign chair or the word chair, assuming that it's a semantic domain, the semantic domain would include verbal signs such as bench, stool, and hassock. Here, the differences between chair, bench, stool, hassock. There are differences between these words. For one person or more, chair is for one person, but bench more than one person, stool one person, hassock one person. As for with a back or without a back, chair with a back, bench maybe with or without, stool without a back, hassock without a back, legs or without legs, chair with legs, bench with legs, stool with legs, and hassock without legs. So here when we translate, we do not translate haphazardly. We have to look at the semantic domain of the word to trace accuracy and to find the good equivalent of the word in the target language. Types of lexical meanings. Meanings or lexical meanings operate at more than one level specified by the context where words occur. Neither the word and neither recognize two levels. There is denotative meaning and there is the connotative meaning. Denotative meaning means the meaning which is based on the dictionary. Connotative meaning is the meaning which is connected with our thinking, with our associations. Let us see the first kind of semantic relations. Velocity. It is known as cognitive or prepositional meaning. It is also sometimes referred to as literal meaning. In case of words, it is denotative meanings that are given in dictionary definitions. So denotative meanings are those given in dictionary definitions. In fact, words may have more than one denotative meaning. Velocity can be illustrated by the word plain. Look at the word plain, which means clear. Plain sky, سماء صافية. Unadorned, plain paper bag, obvious, plain case of forgery. Plain has many meanings. It can be plain sky, plain yogurt, سماء صافية, plain sky, plain yogurt, زبادي سادة, and many meanings for the word plain. If we move to homonymy, homonymy means two senses of a single word, two meanings of a single word, and cases where two words happen to sound the same. An example of homonymy, which is fairly frequently quoted as, for example, bank. It can be bank مصرف or bank ضفة النهر, side of the river. Bank, an institution, financial institution, مصرف. Synonymy and lexical translatability. Synonymy occurs when two or more words can be used to substitute for one another in a particular context and still give similar but not necessarily identical meaning. Complete synonymy does not exist in any language, no complete synonymy, and consequently, complete equivalence in translation is sometimes unattainable. You can't see two exact words in one language. For example, love and like. They are similar, but they are not the same. There is some sort of difference between meanings of love and like. Semantic equivalence. The nearest semantic equivalence for translating the denotative meaning, which we find in the dictionary, المعنى الدلالي, of a source text expression, usually falls short of being full target language synonym. A simple example of this kind of failure, of course, there is meaning loss. This kind of failure is provided by comparison between, if we compare the word uncle and in English and عم in Arabic, or uncle in English and خال in Arabic. There is difference, because here you see uncle may be used for both عم وخال. Here the English term uncle might be a typical translation equivalent of the Arabic عم or خال. Uncle may refer to father's brother or mother's brother. Therefore, to have a synonymous relationship, translators resort to paraphrase their translation by using maternal uncle for khal or paternal uncle for am. This is a sort of explicit translation, paraphrasing the lexical item. Problems of antonymy. Here we have some problems in meaning. There are different gradable antonyms in English and Arabic. Between hot and cold in English is a continuous scale of values between hot and the word hot and cold. There are other degrees which may be given names such as warm, cool, or tepid. In Arabic, there are 4 different divisions we have in English: cold, cool, hot, warm. But in Arabic, we have barid for cold and cool. So there is difference. Har, hot, is translated as har, hot weather. But if we say hot tea, ساخن. Warm, دافئ. So there is difference between English and Arabic. Connotative meaning. Associative meaning is an example of connotative meaning. It is that part of the overall meaning of an expression which consists of expectations that are rightly or wrongly associated with the referent of expression. The word, for example, nurse is a good example. Most people automatically associate nurse with the idea of female gender. When we say nurse, it means ممرضة, especially in the Arab world, not ممرض. Another example, the word مقهى. If we consider the difficulty of translating the word مقهى into English, the denotative near equivalent, because it is not exact equivalent, might be tea house tea garden, coffee house, coffee shop, or possibly cafe. But in Arabic, it has associations with social gathering. Collocative meaning. Collocative meaning is the connotative meaning lent to a linguistic expression by the meaning of some of other expression with which it frequently collocates. متصاحبات, متلازمات. Pretty and handsome, for example, have shared sense of good looking in English. However, pretty collocates readily with girl, boy, women, flower, garden. In English, you have to notice that pretty used with girl, pretty boy, pretty women, pretty flower, pretty garden, color, village. While handsome collocates with boy, man, vessel. We say handsome man. We don't say pretty man. Vessel, overcoat, airliner, typewriter. So these are collocations or collocative meanings in English, and in Arabic we have the same. For example, التعاون الوثيق, close cooperation. We can't say in translation, literal translation, firm cooperation. We can't take literally the word al-wathiq and translate it as or render it as firm cooperation. As الذكاء التجاري, we can't say commercial intelligence. No, they say commercial acumen. Why? Because this is a sort of collocation. Words collocate together. ابتسامة مصطنعة, forced smile. We do not say artificial smile. We do not translate it literally because in English, forced and smile collocate together to give this meaning. An important area for collocation is the use of conjoined phrase on the pattern X and Y. Thus, English tend to say knives and forks rather than forks and knives. English tends to say night and day or day and night. But in Arabic, we say ليل نهار. We do not say نهار ليل. This is collocation. Some collocation of this kind have become established idioms. The phrase من لحم ودم, من دم ولحم. The phrase من دم ولحم has to be translated flesh and blood rather than the reverse, blood and flesh. In English, we say flesh and blood. In Arabic, we can say دم ولحم or لحم ودم, but in English, no, flesh and blood. Idiomatic meaning. Here, idioms. Idioms are very intricate expressions, thus they are not easy to translate. First, idioms are culture bound, specific to particular culture and society. Second, their meaning is rather metaphorical than literal. Notice the difference between literal and non-literal meanings of these idioms. Break the ice. Literally, اكسر الثلج. Non-literally, يمهد الطريق. Second, he looks blue. Literally, يبدو أزرقا. Non-literally or idiomatically, يبدو حزينا, which is the good translation. 3. He is black sheep. Literally, هو خروف أسود. But this is not the right translation. Non-literally, هو شخص سيء الأخلاق. He is in the clouds. Number 4. هو في الغيوم. And non-literally or idiomatically هو شارد الذهن. So when we translate idioms, we do not translate them literally. Problems related to lexical items in Arabic. Verb قتل, he killed, to illustrate modifications of the meanings of the root as expressed by internal vowel variation or change. We may note that from the root قتل, which consists of 3 consonants and conveys the idea of killing, we can form the verb قتل, he killed, another verb قاتل, he fought. The noun قتل, killing, The adjectival nouns قاتل, killer, and قتال. So from one word we have many meanings. From one word or one form we can derive many words and different meanings, of course. This translators have to consider these changes. You know the difference between قاتل, قتال, قاتل, قتل, the plural قتل, and there are many other derivations. So translators have to consider these lexical problems. Ambiguity is another problem, because a translator has to pay attention to this problem. For example, we saw her duck. It can mean we saw her lower her head, or we saw the duck belonging to her. Another example of an ambiguity: the chicken is ready to eat. The chicken is ready to be eaten, or the chicken is ready to eat some food. So each sentence has two meanings, and the translator has to find out the right meaning, of course through the context. He hit the boy with the stick. Do we have to translate it ضرب الولد بالعصا or ضرب الولد ذا العصا? All the men and women, do we have to translate it رجال مسنون ونساء or رجال مسنون ونساء مسنات? Another example: flying planes can be dangerous. Do we have to translate it قد يكون تحليق الطائرات خطير؟ قد تكون الطائرات المحلقة خطيرة. So each sentence has two translations, and the job of the translator is to find the right meaning, to clear the ambiguity of the sentence through context, of course, and analyzing the source text to discover the meaning. Metaphors. Translating metaphors. We have 5 solutions to translate an order, or 5 strategies in translating metaphors. Number 1, the metaphor may be kept. We can keep the metaphor if the receptor language permits. For example, we can say الزواج مثل البطيخ. Marriage is a melon, because Arabic and English they both have the same metaphor. A metaphor, the second solution or strategy, the metaphor may be translated as a simile. When we have used simile instead of the metaphor, because the target language does not permit, we do not have a metaphor, equivalent metaphor. We can say like. For example, the man is a fox. الرجل ثعلب. In this case, it is a metaphor. If we say الرجل مثل الثعلب, here we turn it into a simile. So we can use it as a simile. The third solution, the second solution, is using the metaphor or translating the metaphor as a simile. The third strategy, the metaphor of the receptor language, which has the same meaning, may be substituted. We are allowed to substitute, give another metaphor. Number 4, the metaphor may be kept and the meaning explained. You can explain it, add some pragmatic enrichment. You can enrich the text. Number 5, the meaning of the metaphor may be translated without keeping the metaphorical imagery. You can delete the image or the metaphor itself. So we have 5 solutions. So these are the different strategies used in translating metaphors. For example, دارت ابتسامة بعثها السناء ثم تظاهرت بالدهشة وهي تقول. لا أفهم مما تعني شيئا، الظاهر أنك في واد وأني في واد. This is quoted from Palace of Desire by نجيب محفوظ. قصر الشوق، رائعة نجيب محفوظ، ثلاثية نجيب محفوظ. It is translated: she had a smile her praise had inspired and pretended to be astonished as she said, I absolutely do not understand what you mean. It's clear that we are mountains apart. Here we substituted the metaphor. Instead of أنت في وادي وأنا في وادي, we are two mountains apart. There is metaphor, but they are different. So in the target language, the source and target language, they have two different metaphors. We substitute the metaphor. Another example: ذاك الشبل من هذا الأسد. He is this lion's cub. This is literal translation. This is not good translation. You can use simile like father, like son, or you can delete this metaphor and use the English expression like father, like son. But this is very literal. Another proverb or metaphor, ابن الوز عوام. It is taken from Balaswok, نجيب محفوظ, بين القصرين. The son of the goose is a good swimmer. This is very, very literal translation. It has the same meaning, like father, like son. So this is not a good translation. Thank you for listening.